Welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer. If you're listening to the radio, you may want to send the link over to your friends, theanswerdetroit.com. Turn up the volume because this is a very important conversation we're getting ready to have because I don't think a lot of people are aware of what's happening at our K-12 schools and our universities. When you think about it, parents, what do? They send their kids to school expecting homework, not hackers. Yet across Michigan, cyber criminals are increasingly targeting K-12 schools and universities, stealing sensitive data, freezing networks, and holding entire districts hostage for ransom. From South Lyon to UM, we've seen school systems shut down for days, sometimes weeks. The University of Michigan breach alone exposed over 230,000 students and staff. Recovery costs for K-12 ransomware attacks now average $3.7 million per incident, according to IBM. And while other states have passed strong cybersecurity laws for schools, Michigan still lags behind. Joining us today is Rich Miller. He's the owner of Stack Cybersecurity in Livonia, a Michigan-based firm specializing in incident response and digital protection. Rich has worked on the front lines helping institutions recover from ransomware and data breaches. We'll dive into what's really happening in our classrooms, digital backrooms, and what Michigan needs to do before it's too late. Rich, welcome to Detroit's Morning Answer.
Hi, John Anthony. Thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me on The Answer.
No problem. I'm glad you're here. Rich, let's start with the big picture. How do we get here? Why are hackers suddenly targeting K-12 districts and universities so aggressively?
I think it's about the investment that institutions make in their cybersecurity. Hackers tend to try and target the simplest victim they can find, right? It's about a quick turn. They don't want to spend years and years and years attacking one institution when they can hammer out 5 in a day because they're not making a sound investment as bigger businesses.
Yeah. Now, you've been in the trenches when these attacks happen. What's the most common way, for those parents that are listening, what's the most common way these bad actors get in? Is it phishing? Is it old systems? Is it weak passwords? Or is it because of third-party vendors?
It's a lot of it is all of those, right? So phishing leads to a business email compromise. That's what we see the most in our business with systems that we evaluate and protect. And the problem that I see most specifically related to ransomware, like what South Lyon schools had when they had a 3-day shutdown, a lot of sentiment is around, hey, you should do your cybersecurity awareness training, your user security and awareness training, and the user shouldn't have clicked on the link. But where I think the challenge is, and I think people need to press their districts and their government, is the schools shouldn't make the user have to make technical decisions all the time.
Right.
Why did the link get there? That's what I think is. So I see a lot of comments like online and groups and stuff like that. Hey, they should focus more. They should watch what they're doing. They should know better than to click that. But my challenge is, why did the school let it get there? It's about not making the right investment. It's about having lack of people and lack of processes and lack of tools to prevent users from making technical decisions all day long.
Now, we've seen cases like the Power School breach where ed tech vendors were compromised. How big of a vulnerability are these vendors to our schools, and what can be done to hold them accountable?
Well, when you select a vendor, you should evaluate their posture, their cybersecurity position, before you make that choice. You can't just pick vendors based on the best price, right? You have to look at everything. For example, Stack Cybersecurity, we're a SOC 2 Type 2 compliant organization, and we do that on our own will to illustrate to our clientele that we do the things that we're supposed to do to remain secure. We're very similar to these vendors where we have access to hundreds or thousands of systems across all of our clients. And these vendors are the same way, especially Power School, right? There's a lot of school districts that use all the same software. And so they need to be pressing Power School to invest in their cybersecurity and prove out that they have these protections in place before just randomly going with it because that's what everyone else is doing.
Now, Rich Miller, the Government Accountability Office found schools lose anywhere between 3 to 21 days of learning after a breach, and they often need months to recover. What does that first 72 hours look like when your team steps in after a Michigan district gets hit?
Well, the first thing is we have to look at what tools and processes they have in place, right? This is where the shortcomings start. If a district, a school district, or even a business has properly invested in cybersecurity, they would have things like security incident, security incident and event management, SIM is what we call it, or EDR, which is endpoint detection and response. These tools can knock down the net result of an attack really quickly. They can minimize what happens. But when they don't, the first thing that we have to do is we have to load all these tools on there, and then we start looking, we start watching. Yeah. That's the problem with incident response when a business or school doesn't have these tools in place, is that we can only start from now forward. We can't look back. And SIM gives you the ability to look back and figure out where it came in, how it came in, and where it spread. Was there any data exfiltrated? A lot of these schools say, oh, well, no data was exfiltrated. But if they don't have SIM, they have no way of telling it whether or not it was exfiltrated. They have no clue.
Right. So Michigan has the Student Online Personal Protection Act. But as I looked into it, it mostly governs data use, not cybersecurity enforcement. Why do you think Michigan hasn't mandated every district to have a real cyber response plans like Texas did and New York's NIST law?
I don't know why they haven't done it. I think it's shameful because cybersecurity is so prevalent now. It is such a wide attack vector that everybody is subject to this, right? And I mean, I think being able to protect your business or your school or your student data or city data is just as important as putting locks on the door. Yeah. Yet we don't do it.
Do you think should the Michigan Department of Education or the Cyber Command, do you think they should be required to provide technical assistance or audit for all districts, especially rural ones that can't afford maybe a full IT department?
They absolutely should. You know, we're seeing similar things coming down the pipe in business as it pertains to DOD or DOW contracts, where the government is starting to now mandate that CMMC certification is required, right? Businesses are starting to do this. We should have a certification for school systems and districts because there is a lot of PII on these networks. Yeah. There's a lot of student data. There's a lot of young people data on these networks, and they should be required to secure it and protect it appropriately.
You know, many of these ransomware attacks, they force districts to pay millions just to restore the systems. Where does that money actually come from? Are taxpayers footing that bill?
I believe we are. I believe taxpayers are footing the bill, and it's coming out of the coffers, and then they ask for millages to replenish the coffers. You know, the thing is when you don't do the right stuff up front, when your incident response plan is only reactionary, you can pay the ransom. I can go on the dark web, and in 15 minutes, I can find a list of locations where I can download all of this breached data, right? When businesses or schools pay the ransom, it doesn't stop the threat actors from publishing the data online. Usually it's available for purchase online. And then when they don't pay the ransom, they typically make the data available for free.
And you said ransom. What's some of the information? What's some of the data that gets taken from the K through 12 and universities? What's some of that data? And it goes out onto the dark web, right?
Yeah, it goes out onto the dark web. So we see things, everything from client databases to social security numbers, credit card numbers, bank account numbers. All of that stuff is out there and readily available. In fact, what we're doing in some of the things that we do, we're hosting an event actually tonight, ironically, called Hackoween. And this event is something that we've been doing lately in an effort to help educate people why they need to protect themselves. And we're doing 4 live hacks tonight and then we're going to surf the dark web and show people what are out there, show people where these databases are. We're doing it all live. The reason we're doing that is because we're trying to educate business leaders, business owners, school, government leaders, officials. We're trying to educate them on how simple this stuff can be accomplished.
Wow.
Like I said, 15 minutes, we could pull a database probably of some school somewhere. We were looking yesterday while we were preparing for our event. There's school data out there all over where you can pull down access databases or client lists or any of that type of stuff.
You know, when you think about election year issues, cybersecurity probably isn't one of those things that voters go out and they push or vote for people based upon that. Why should Michigan voters care about cybersecurity in schools as much as they do about taxes or safety?
Because their kids' data are on these school systems, right? Schools, I see a lot. I mean, there are some schools that do all the things. I don't want to discredit all of them.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of schools that don't.
Yeah.
And when they get breached, and I've seen this firsthand, when we have offered to help, they don't even want our help. And I can only assume it's because they don't want us in their system to see what was actually found. I've seen schools in the local Metro Detroit area that have had breaches and have lost data and have not had recoverability, meaning they didn't invest in business continuity and disaster recovery. They can't recover the systems. Instead, they have to rebuild them. And when we have offered to help, they passed on that opportunity. And I could only assume it's because they didn't want us to see what they lost.
Wow. Have you reached out to any of the elected officials in Michigan? Have you been called to testify on these issues in Lansing?
No, we've not done that, but we do communicate with some elected officials regularly, and we've invited some to our events. We do have some. Senator Dana Pohanke is coming to our event tonight, so she's going to speak on a panel where we can answer some questions and talk about how the legislature's trying to address some of this stuff. We've got Livonia local officials and people, and then Michigan Cyber Command is actually coming to our event tonight too. So
and
we're
where's
trying
this
to
event?
put some of these people in front of them.
Give out the information on where the event's going to be, what time. Is it a free event?
It is a free event. It's something that we've been putting together for the last couple of months. Thrilled to invite any of your listeners of The Answer to it. It's at our office. It's 33131 Schoolcraft Road in Livonia. If you're familiar with Livonia, our parking lot touches Mason's parking lot, so we're right behind.
I know exactly where you're at.
Yes, sir. And it'll be fun. We're showing some live hacks. That's what's kind of neat. So we're going to make it a little bit educational, try to have some fun, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres. The idea is it's a little bit of a Halloween party, but the theme is dressed like a hacker. So you can kind of wear whatever you want.
You had me at cocktail. But, excuse me, I just recently spoke in Livonia, and I have a huge listening audience in Livonia because I interviewed Cherie Bernhardt about the $150 million referendum that was defeated there. So the people of Livonia, they love John Anthony. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. But
yes, we do.
Yeah, so I really do hope that people do go out and show up to this event because this is an informational for parents, right, too?
It is, absolutely. It's informational for parents. Parents need to know what this stuff is, and they need to know the right things to ask their school and their elected officials if they're paying attention.
Yeah, and Cherie, you better be there. You better take all your kids there as well, and your hubby. But because I think about this, and it's them having the. I know my kids, at least my two olders, they brought laptops home. Is that part of the reason why that this cybersecurity is a bigger issue now? Because now kids are now able to take computers home from school as well?
Yeah, it is, because you have to make sure that the computer is under control and locked down at all times. And if they're doing the right things, that does happen. But if they're not, then when that computer is at home, the user can still surf the web and go wherever they want and do whatever they want. And then if something gets on that computer, then it comes back to the school network and can move around that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, students and kids these days are very inquisitive, and the dark web and all those stuff on the internet is very accessible, right? And so when these kids try this stuff, I mean, you can do, for example, ransomware as a service. So you can go on the dark web, and in a couple of minutes, you can actually purchase ransomware as a service and direct where you want the threat actors to attack, and just pay them. And they just take a little cut of what they get, and they'll do it for next to nothing.
Now, Rich, you've seen schools at their worst moments: networks frozen, data stolen, kids crying because their college apps are gone. If you could speak directly to every school member and parent and elected official who can do something about this right now, what's your warning and what's your call to action?
My call to action is for executives, business leaders, government officials, and parents alike. You need to listen and understand cybersecurity. You need to be willing to engage in a conversation to learn whether or not you are protected. Mm-hmm. I spend most of my time trying to educate executives and leadership about cybersecurity, right? They make an investment in understanding legal contracts and understanding accounting, but how could they understand cybersecurity? It's so vast.
Yeah.
Right?
And Rich, this is a multi-billion-dollar operation as it relates to cybersecurity. It's not just schools. It's happening to businesses as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we see businesses. We've had 4 or 5 different businesses at the same time undergoing some degree of business email compromise. We investigate them on a regular basis, at least weekly, if not daily.
Wow. Rich Stack.
And I'm going to show a business email compromise tonight.
Yeah. Give out the information on where it's going to be real quick.
Yeah. Again, it's Stack Cybersecurity in Livonia, Michigan. 33131 Schoolcraft Road. We're right near Masons. We're on the southeast corner of Schoolcraft.
What about your business information? You got a website? You have any social media platforms?
We do. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook, and we have on LinkedIn we have a cyber brief that we write all the time. We do a lot of blogs, a lot of posts to try and educate people, and our address is stackcyber.com.
Stackcyber.com. Rich Miller, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today on Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. Thank you.
Thank you, John Anthony. I appreciate it.
No problem. That's Rich Miller from Stack in Livonia, Michigan. We'll be right back.